those who don't know, that is what we say to honor the diva of the team, Justin Canton. But hello, I'm Timothy Cyphers. I'm here in the hotel room in, where are we guys? Iowa. Ames, Iowa. We're in Ames, Iowa. I'm with Joe E. Joe E, what's up? What's up? I got Rob Dias.
Hell yeah.
That's what's up. Sean Devenish joining us again. Larry Hale joining us again. Woo woo. Rob Hot Tub Fair, one of my biggest stars. And of course, James Wynn. And yeah, so I just wanted to talk about today. So we had 3 games. We won all 3. The scores don't really tell the whole story, so I thought that's why we talked about it. First thing, guys, Game 1, San Antonio Jets. We knew it was going to be a dogfight, and it proved to be a test that we could handle. What are the highlights?
My real name
tell
is
me what happened today. I don't remember.
Renegade player. Have been for
I remember. I just want you guys to tell me.
We won.
We won.
She won.
So
it was 20-9, right?
It was 20-9. Dias, that was your game. You hit a few shots, man, right?
Yeah, first, and then it all went downhill after I missed that
You missed the base, got the pinky, which I have now and we'll get to.
Thank you.
Guys, but that was a laser shot. You put on a show today. And then Joe Yee, you scored 4 times today?
Yes.
Yeah? How'd that feel?
Felt great.
Have you had a day like that?
No. I was pulling all my balls to the left foul line.
Yeah.
And made a timing adjustment and started hitting them up the middle.
Yeah, that's what the benefit of having someone like Ron is. I mean, I didn't make him look good today, but a lot of you guys did. And, that's because he's just one of the best. Larry, great day on the field on defense. How did that feel? Because I know Ron's been giving you some crap about your D.
I like to, sometimes I like to say I'm born to DH, and he likes to tell me BS. There were a couple of plays that I was able to assist. It's good to be able to contribute on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, you played third base primarily, right?
Third base,
Yeah, do you...
affiliated with, I'm sorry, the ABC, the Association of
Don't you play in more midfield and stuff?
So
us from
I
day
actually
one.
started
They are
years ago as a rover,
who sponsor us.
and
They
I kind
are
of liked
on
it
our
because it was
uniforms. They're
last
just
line of
super
defense.
key to
I didn't
all
have
of
to
our
run into
success.
anyone. I can play a little safer, but third base nowadays,
I
that's where
take
the
a
action
second,
is. So if you're able,
warn
if he
someone
has you
that
playing
is really
third
close
base,
to the Renegades
he
family.
has some confidence
And that is Bill Weissing.
his belief
He is
that
Coach Rob's
you're going to be able
father.
to
We
help the
tragically
team
lost,
out and get something to
one of
put
the
out
biggest
and
fans
come
and
there because
supporters
you have a
over
lot
the
of
summer,
right-handed players,
during
and that's
the
where the
World
ball typically is going to go.
And
Yeah,
terrible
man.
news.
You look good today. How'd that feel? How'd that run feel?
Awesome.
Yeah, man. So, Hot Tub scored today. I think everyone in here, except for James, scored. But James is sneak fit. He's going to get that run this week. I know it. I feel it. I feel it in my bones.
My Vietnamese blanket.
Vietnamese blanket. For those who don't understand what that means Tom's laying on top of Rob right now. just a good visual for the Renegade Report listeners. Sean, it would be wrong not to mention your day, man. Let's hear it from Sean. You had a nice 500 day.
Yes, he did.
You had a nice 500 day, man. So it's your first World Series action. Competition is a little different, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It's much higher competition. I mean, no disrespect to the teams we play in the BC East, but
I mean, some of them are here.
yeah, some of them are here. Just not.
Your game just gets
Separate teams.
taken to another level,
And
right?
the umpiring, everything's much more. You have to do this way. The rules are much more strict.
You don't have to
It's
just listen to I Am Timothy.
just gotta listen to whatever he says. Do what they tell you to do.
All right, now that was the San Antonio Jets, and like I said, we knew that was gonna be a dogfight, but we came out on top. Game 2 was against the Minnesota Millers, right?
No.
BCS Outlaws. So what did the final score on, man?
That's his calling card.
8-1.
8-1. So we did some different things. We tried some stuff out, and we still came out on top.
Doing well.
And we knew that would be hard too. I mean, like I said, the competition's a little harder. But fast forwarding, well, what happened in that game that was most memorable?
This
I
has
don't
been
remember.
in the works for quite some time. Rob approached me.
Well, Hot Tub scored, right? That was the game Hot Tub scored. Yeah, there we go. So I mean,
Tom said he gave them a run. What happened there? Did you miss a play?
No, I got it and I kicked it away from me. And I chased it down and I kicked it away from me.
So that's how they scored their run.
We're gonna get to a few.
I don't know. Yeah, at least you're accountable, right?
When I start hitting a run, I can start to get scoring.
He also made a good put out, I think, after one of those he missed.
Yeah, right. I'm pretty sure right before me.
First thing,
Right before me. So that's cool.
Tony, you want a podium blanket?
On to game 3. That was the Minnesota Millers. And that featured. That's pretty cool. Today was. So it's interesting. We're doing this Renegade Report, right? And the first person that I got any advice from about doing a podcast about beach baseball was Vice President of the NBBA Public
Rather than
Relations.
me boring
And that's
people
Steven
with
Garris. That was pretty
anything
cool. It was cool to
I
meet
hardly
him, and I
understand
didn't
yet,
realize he even still
could
played.
you
So
describe
another game that we
what that
came out on
does to
top, we
you,
worked our
how
asses
that's
off,
affecting
and
you,
yeah, man, it's just really cool. Like, I mean, what does it say about the depth? I mean, each and every player got in today, and we won all 3 games. I mean, we did what we came out to do. How do you guys feel about today? Let me ask Joe. Joe, how do you feel about today?
Well, it's a genetic
We knew
disorder,
that today was going to be
specifically in mitochondrial
a
DNA,
day of
which
games
no
that the
scientist
league was
might
going to be
know
watching.
what that is
I
exactly,
think
but
we
a certain part of the
surprised
cell
them
that produces
when we
energy
beat San
is
Antonio.
affected, and
as a team, we played very well
it
together on
affects
both sides of the
people
ball.
systemically, but in terms of that specific
all of our practices,
genetic
our hard
mutation,
work is
it
starting to
affects your
show.
optic nerves. And
Yeah, and
optic
this is
nerves
why we
have
start
atrophy,
so early in the year. This is why we.
the part of your
This is what
eye
we
that
play for, right,
sends
guys?
the signal.
Larry, what do you
the-
think?
the eyes are picking
What do you
up.
feel about tomorrow?
The
So
brain
we have
will
here's the
interpret
situation, folks.
is,
We will play. We get to sleep in. That's the best thing. We get to sleep in, and that's because of our hard work today. But on to serious stuff. We play the winner, Iowa and Southwest Landers. I'm not asking you to project because we don't even know who we're playing. I just want you to say what you think we need to do to have a successful day.
You know,
that causes
it's important to
central
kind
vision
of talk
loss,
about the things we
varying
did
degrees
well.
depending on different
First of
types
all,
of genetic
our
mutations.
goal
There are a variety
was
of them that are all sort of collected under the umbrella
wanted to win
of
a couple
Leber's
of
disease.
games. We won
And
3. We
oftentimes
needed to
you use
do
color
our
vision.
thing offensively and defensively.
You have
and we
some
did
peripheral
that.
vision left,
I think,
but it, again, it varies.
we all
Like you and I have
know
different
that,
levels of vision.
you know,
I don't know if
when
we
we
have
come into our
the same
games
mutation
tomorrow,
or not.
there's a lot of
Right, yeah,
things
like,
that we need to
like
improve
I
on.
clearly
You know,
see a little bit.
laying down
Yeah.
Superman,
have,
being
I guess,
consistent
different,
with our bat
versions
swing.
of flavors.
Yes.
I know
don't
these
the
are
right word
things
for
I
it is,
have to
but
work with.
when it comes
You
down to
know,
it, we
so
both
I
have
just
central
think
vision.
we
Yeah,
really
exactly.
just
So
have to
wherever I
look
try
at
to
the
focus,
things that we
that's where I
individually
see
need
the
to
worst. You know,
work on
so
that we
detail
all
it
can
impacts
come
mostly
into our games
detail
tomorrow
type of vision.
and
So
just
reading or
battle
recognizing
for that
faces,
number one
things
spot
like that, right?
because
So where
we
you
are
turn.
an upper
So,
echelon
you know,
team, and I think that's
when it
important
first
to recognize. We
started
are
with me,
that upper echelon
I had
team.
20/20 vision.
Yeah, man, we're setting the
teenage
standard,
years.
which is really cool. And what's
And
really
then
cool
when
about
I
what Larry
was
just said, what
19,
Eltrain just said
I
is,
started to have this
what's
spot
really
vision
cool about it
in
is,
my left eye first.
you know, we're doing this for fun. We're doing this for my
I noticed,
podcast,
you
and
know,
thanks
when I
guys for
was,
being here. But
looking in the mirror,
you know, we
and
do
sort
have a rookie in the
rub
room,
my right eye
and Sean
against
is
my right eye, I noticed-
far. Who's his face is phone, which is fine, which is totally fine. That's the beauty of radio. But no, we do have a rookie in the room. You got me, who's, you know, a young player in the room, a couple other guys who've been around for years, and we're all relatively new to the sport, and we got a guy who's been playing for over 10 years telling us, hey, we won 3, but there's plenty of crap we can do better, and that's really cool. That's what we gotta look to. That's how we gotta take tomorrow. Approach it one game at a time, one at bat at a time. Just control. Worry about what we can control. Do you have something to say, Rob?
Once it starts to happen
What's up?
bilaterally.
Oh, I thought you were raising your.
Oh, no, it's
just raising it. I thought he was like, hey, can I tell? I'm like, dude, just jump in. But so I just want to say that, you know, whoever we play, Iowa or Southwest, we're going to take them very seriously. I want to thank the competition from today because they were really classy and it was really fun. So, boys, let's get some sleep. Let's have a lot of fun. Let's stretch out. I'm stretching out tight. My hands are tight today. I don't want to pull them. But Joe, Hot Tub, James, Dias, Sean, Larry, say bye, guys. Bye. Bye from Ames. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Mitochondrial DNA.
Good.
It's not like we have to play Iowa or Southwest. It's Iowa, so Southwest has to play us.
Oh, well. Tim, get that.
You sound so professional. Like I've seen how you've been in the beginning.
Things in a way I felt like, okay, well,
You got an answer.
yeah, I got an answer, and it's something I put my arms around, and something that I feel like in time at least I'll be able to cope with and manage, and we'll figure that out. So from then on, I'll be 41 this year, so this has been, you know, more of my life has been spent this way than sighted. So you know, it's still the adjustments still are ongoing, but you know, for the most part, I've got it. You know, I think you know, well in hand.
It's helpful to hear your story for me, and I certainly hope that it is for others that are listening to this. But for me, going through exactly what you're going through, to hear that this may sound weird, but to hear that you still have hard days.
Yeah,
that's what I
sure.
kind of got from what
Sure.
you just said. And so it makes me realize I'm not weird.
No,
because
no.
there are days that just suck.
Yeah, it's a process. Absolutely,
Yeah.
you get frustrated,
but it gets easier and easier.
It does. Yeah, yeah.
So and that's what I credit the Renegades a lot. I mean, maybe you can speak to this. I mean, the Renegades being in my life has certainly helped, but we can get to that. You explained that really eloquently and better than I ever could have. So I'm glad I left it to you. Is there anything else you want to add about it, or?
Well, I guess the only other thing, it's fairly rare. But one of the cool things about the Renegades is that we have, I think, 4 players now with it, and it's
there's like 100 new cases a year or something ridiculous like that, and there's 4 of us on the team. It's nuts.
Which is kind of fun.
Yeah, so it's helpful.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a nice little bond for a part of the team at least.
Yeah, you bet. So I mean, let's get to the crux of the matter. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like the Boston Renegades. Let me get back to the mic. Sorry, Boston Renegades. Can you tell me? Well, first of all, were you athletic growing up? Did you play sports?
I tried to be.
Well, sure, but I mean, did you enjoy athletics?
Yeah, I enjoyed athletics. I don't know. I'd say didn't fall extremely high on the natural athleticism scale, but I love trying.
Too modest, man. Modest.
No, it's true.
Well, I asked because for me, growing up, I played all sorts of sports, but baseball especially. So, I hope to someday share my story, but this is about you today. So can you tell me how the Renegades came to be a part of your life, how you discovered it, if it had surprised you that, that there was an adaptive sport like beat baseball?
Yeah. I guess one thing that I should say that he's passed away, but I had an older brother who had a variety of developmental disabilities, and he was in the deaf-blind program at Perkins School for the Blind. So growing up, often, we'd go there for events, for, summer barbecues and things. And so, I was around probably more people with visual impairment from a young age than the average individual. And so I never viewed it as sort of this death sentence that I wouldn't be able to do things in life, because I had that exposure, which I think was just so fortunate for me. So many people don't have that exposure, and they don't know where to turn. They feel like they're the only one going through this kind of thing.
Right.
So I had just a little picture. Again, it's from a young age, so I didn't really appreciate all the things that were going on there, but I think it was definitely a benefit to me. So when I was going through the process of losing my own vision, I was sort of determined to find alternate ways of doing things, and that things could be done. You just had to find the mechanisms, the tools to do it. So I lost my vision in 1994, and I started to hear something about beat baseball. I guess it would be in the late 90s, early 2000s. There used to be, I don't know, maybe there still is actually this, the Mass Commission for the Blind, the state agency that provides services for people who are legally blind, would have this telephone information tape, which they still do, that you could call in and hear different announcements about activities or legislation, things like that. So I would check in from time to time, and the Lowell Association for the Blind had the Lab Retrievers, that was sort of a recreational beat baseball team, and that's actually where Coach Rob got his start, and some of our coaches over there, ironically. So I'd heard about that, but I was living in Belmont. I thought Lowell would be kind of far to travel, so I never followed up with that. Then I think in 2000 or 2001, John Oliveira started the Association of Blind Citizens, and they wanted to sponsor recreation things for people with vision loss, and they started up the Renegades, and they were practicing in Brookline, and I heard it through the same means on the telephone information tape, and I said, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm a huge baseball fan, always been, played Little League and Babe Ruth, not well, but played them growing up. It was a big, like, my father and I watched Red Sox all the time, would go to games. I said, this would be a blast. I just thought it'd be fun, and went out to Cleveland Circle. It was a small group of people at the time, a lot of people from the commission. Started practicing, and then sort of snowballed from there. People were interested in being part of the larger organization in the National Beat Baseball Association. In 2002, we traveled to the World Series for the first time, although we were nowhere near as organized as we are now, and didn't have the volunteer infrastructure that we have now. But I was hooked from day one, and it was a blast from day one. But that's how I heard about it, just through the Blindness Services Network, I'd say.
That's wild, man. That's really cool. So I just want to quickly touch on a few names you mentioned that I just want people to realize that, or recognize that I hope we become more acquainted with them as this project takes off, and I become more comfortable with talking to people around the league. But John Oliveira has been a huge part of the Renegades, and like Guy said, he started the Association of Blind Citizens, but also
he's the president. Yeah.
He's the president of the of ABC. But also, I meant to mention at the beginning of this, during my housekeeping items, the NBBA, the National Beep Baseball, the National Beep Baseball Association, NBBA. They are the league that is pretty much international now. There's a couple teams overseas, and Taiwan, two teams at least.
Right, team from Canada this year.
It's really taking off and growing, but they've been around forever, and we'll get into that in future episodes. But I just wanted to clear that up for people who are listening the first time and maybe new to the sport, and certainly are new to this show. So thanks for that, Guy. That's an awesome story. It really is. I mean, I will someday share how I learned about it. Very different way, but ultimately the same result. And Guy was the first person that I worked out with for the Renegades. And,
that's right. Oh, that's right. Yeah,
it's really cool. So it's been a blessing to have in my life, and I feel like I get the same impression from Guy.
Yes.
Moving on, I thought we would touch on. I want to touch. You mentioned the volunteer infrastructure we have.
Yes.
I mean, I've only been associated with the team for 3 years, so what I've seen is just what I know. It's normal to me. So maybe you can explain the evolution of the volunteer infrastructure, as you put it, and then I need you to talk about Coach Rob.
Sure. Well, and it starts with him, so I'm gonna start there in terms of volunteers. Rob Weissman. We had as I mentioned, we started sort of recreationally in 2001, and then we went to the World Series in 2002, and John Oliveira was sort of managing things, but he never wanted to be a coach or sort of an on-the-field person. He wanted to have the opportunity up and going, and his vision at the time was to have the team in Brookline or Boston area team, the team in Lowell continue, and there was a team I think at the time in New Bedford continue. So, the vision was sort of to have those three teams ongoing, and we could play games locally among the three teams, and then every year at the time of the NBBA World Series, we could sort of send an all-star team from the three teams to represent the area. But the team in Lowell, they didn't have that many players, or they had issues where they weren't going to last, and the same thing with the team in New Bedford that sort of folded as well. So they ended up centralizing everything in the Boston area, and John Oliveira approached Rob Weissman, who had been coaching the team up in Lowell. And he was introduced to the sport through. If you ever have him on the show, he'd be better to tell the story, but through somebody he went to college with.
Right.
And so John asked Rob if he would want to coach the Boston Renegades, and thankfully for us, he said yes, and he's taken it with both hands. And
did he just jump aboard? I don't even know this story. Did he just, I mean, I know the story, but I don't know how smooth it was. I mean, you were around then. Was it as well-oiled of a machine as it is now, or did he intend for it to be as well-oiled as it is now?
It was a work in progress for sure. He built it up to the organization that it is now. It was not in the beginning quite that way. He sort of had to sit it down and say, some of these players have approached me. They want me to coach, and I think he felt like he was going to take it on if everyone was on board to be a competitive team. If it was just going to be recreational and just kind of go out on weekends and have picnics and kind of hit the beat ball around, he wasn't up for that. But he's a very competitive individual, super competitive individual, and he was totally up for building a program here, building a competitive program, and a lot of the core guys were interested in doing that. So it started with them and went from there. Now, my oldest son, who's now 12, was born in the spring of 2003, which was 2003 was going to be Rob's first season. So I stepped back and took a hiatus, ended up being 3 years long. So the 03, 04, and 05.
How dare
season.
you?
Yeah, I know.
What do you want to be, a father?
Overwhelmed with my first child.
Sure.
I had a second child after that and was like, this is a piece of cake now. I know what I'm doing. So I didn't take a hiatus then. But so for Rob's first 3 seasons, I wasn't there to have that sort of first-person view of how it was going. But
how different was it when you came back?
When I came back
Was
in
the culture
06,
different?
it was hugely different, and
Right.
it was amazing. It was Rob had this program. I mean, we were actually doing drills of we had a defensive system. We had individual skills for playing defense and for batting, and we had hitting coaches and volunteer. He had built this infrastructure of volunteers, none of whom were related to one another. It was just a lot of him of his friends that he'd gone way back with. I think there's definitely a cool article or podcast to be done about Rob and Ron and Ace. These are all coaches on our team who grew up together, and Brian Grillo, who went to college with them, and sort of the 4 of them, their history, how it's intertwined, and how they've stuck together with the team for a long time. I think it's definitely there's a cool article to be written there by somebody with more
it's
talent.
just writing itself.
But guys like this that he recruited to help with the team, I went to the first practices, and there were all these folks helping us improve and get better, and it was an amazing difference. We were just going out there just kind of all winging it in the beginning. We had no idea about.
I can't even comprehend that because I've been on a board since 13, and I just want to say that the volunteers, they don't get paid. They don't get community service out of this. It's just they do it out of the kindness of their hearts. And yes, I intend to have each and every one of them credited at some point or even on the show. So. I mean, what does that mean to you? That they don't even, this is their own free time, their spare time, that they're taking on a bunch of blind guys and girls and just helping us out.
I'm constantly amazed and so grateful.
Yeah.
I mean, starting with Rob,
he bleeds this sport.
I know. I can't say enough about his dedication. He's one of the more dedicated, passionate individuals to any cause that I've known in my life. I mean that's not even hyperbole. That
I believe you.
I'm inspired by his passion. I mean, I would never play for anyone else.
That's so cool. That's so cool. I would also say that it's not hyperbolic to say that he's probably the best beat baseball coach in the world. And I'm not just saying that because he's the only one I know. Yeah. I'm saying that because I don't think anybody takes it home and
no.
I don't think it hits him hard when things don't go well, and it elates him when things do go well, but we can always do better.
Yeah,
which is amazing.
I guarantee you he puts more into it than anybody else.
That's what I think.
I guarantee you that. And
you hear that, Rob?
Yeah. It starts with him for sure, but then I'm constantly amazed and grateful at his volunteer staff, the dedication of those individuals, and the amount of time that they put forth going on trips with us.
Yeah. Them
taking weeks of vacation of their own time in the summer.
Right.
To go to the World Series with us. Many people have done it for 6-7 years in a row, maybe more.
Right.
It's
picking guys up
Sundays
from the train stations.
Yeah.
Just making sure that we're successful at what we're trying to do here. And I'm like you said, I'm grateful.
Yeah, and it wouldn't happen without them. And from the coaches who coach on the field with us to all the off-field stuff that they help us with, they make it possible, and you can't thank them enough. Really.
I thank them from the bottom of my heart. This is the first installment of the tentatively named Renegade Report. I am taking suggestions on better names, but I like alliteration, so deal with it. That's what we're going with for now.
I like it for what it's worth.
This is thank you. I appreciate it. A lot of thought went into that. So I got Guy Zuccarello here, veteran of the Boston Renegades, super cool teammate and a great friend now. Guy, can you talk about, like, your specialty is defense, and anyone that knows you or knows the team knows that.
Yeah.
And you know, this isn't the time to be modest. I want you to tell me why or how or what makes you so successful at playing defense. A former defensive MVP, near the top of all the record books in defensive putouts and stats of the such. Can you explain defense to me, because I'm not very good at it yet?
Well, you know, it's funny because I feel like it's constantly, you know, game to game, play to play. I feel like I'm not very good at it sometimes too. It's a challenge. It's I think it's the most challenging part of the game.
Me too.
I do. I feel like it is, because there's so many variables that go into it. I think, you know, it's a combination of just repetition and some instinct, but you know, like anything, practice makes perfect. And you need to have a sort of level of controlled aggression when you're on the field playing defense, because you're not out there as an individual, you're out there in a team framework. And I feel like trusting your teammates around you, you know, is key. And then communicating with them is key. And it's got to be really efficient communication.
Yeah.
You know, it can't be talking so much that you're drowning out the sound of the ball that people are trying to track.
Yeah.
And you need to be aggressive, but you don't want to be overly aggressive, and then you're, you know, moving too quickly before the spotter has made the call as to what zone the ball is in, and you're already moving in the wrong, you know, taking a few steps in the wrong direction. So,
Sure.
You know, I was more tentative in the past, you know, before I sort of made a step up in my abilities. I would say being more aggressive, you know, especially for balls that were short. I play up front most of the time as one of those short fielders or shorties. So balls that would die out in front of me, I'd be tentative or drop way before the ball, and you end up sort of getting up and running to it or crawling to it, even worse.
Yeah.
So it sort of clicked at one practice. I remember it was where I was like, you know, let me just go full bore towards this, or, you know, full bore under control. And then, you know, don't even worry about if I overrun it. And then something clicked where I would go past the ball, and that's when I heard it the best, when it was right under me and I could just drop into a slide and, you know, land hopefully within a body's length to sort of be able to scoop it in and pick it up. And I said, wow, you know, you almost can't be too aggressive here. And that made a big difference in terms of making those types of plays. So that was a big help. But so much of it too is your ears, and having good ears. And I don't even think mine are naturally the best in terms of lining a ball that's, you know, rolling out to you.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a consistent work in progress, and hearing that ball, squaring it up and trying to center your body on it. And so much it's just field dependent, wind dependent. You got to fight all those things. And
Right.
that's why I feel it's one of it is the toughest aspect of the sport, because you're juggling all those different variables. You might make 4 out of the 5 variables, or I don't know, I'm picking that number off the top of my head,
Sure,
but whatever the factors are, you might get 4 or 5 of them right. But, you know,
Yeah.
you didn't judge the speed of the field well enough, and then the ball shot past you before you hit the ground.
So many variables.
Yeah.
But you mentioned communication, and, like, you know, any baseball fan knows that, or any, you know, sports fan knows that baseball is inherently it's typically the most individualized or individualistic sport of the 4 majors, at least. You know what I mean? But beat baseball couldn't be farther from that fact. You know, like, we are such a team sport.
Yeah.
We have to rely on each other. Even our sighted volunteers, who are really our teammates when we're on the field.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I think that's really cool, and I you know, that's the point. That's what I heard the most from you just now is communication.
The communication
and
is
that's,
big.
you know,
Yeah.
I just learned something. I'm gonna, you know, the aggression, and, you know, I'm gonna stick to you like glue coming up over the next few seasons, because I need to get better. So
Yeah. And you know, there's the progress will happen. Again, it's from repetition of being out there in the field, and then you know, getting that firsthand experience, and then and talking to other people who have done it, and what things helped them, and what things got in their way. You know, like doing anything, right? Hearing
Yeah.
from people with experiences is big. Yeah.
So, changing gears a little bit,
Sure.
we just finished. It's so cool I can say we, but we just finished our 2015 season. Which included at one point our highest, our biggest roster in team history, which I think is an accomplishment.
Absolutely.
Our 5th consecutive Beast of the East.
Oh gosh.
It's 5 or 6.
5 or 6. Yeah.
So I mean that's a hell of an accomplishment.
Absolutely.
But the biggest accomplishment is probably our finish in the World Series. Biggest field in World Series history, 24 teams. Is that right?
Yep, that's
Yeah.
right.
So
Biggest one.
and we finished 5th,
Yes.
which is just since my joining of the team, 9th to 6th to 5th, just in 3 seasons.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? Where are we heading?
It's so exciting to see where we are and what we still yet can do. There's and you talk about what you've seen since you've joined. What I've seen since I started.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
It's amazing. It still blows me away, the type of team that we are. We put some offensive shows on against some teams in this past World Series, and all the time we were doing it, I was blown away, and never once did I forget to think like we were that team on the other side
Right.
when I started playing, and I knew that feeling well, and to be doing it, to be on the team doing it from this homegrown program, it was really cool, and we still have further to go because there's a top echelon that we're sort of knocking on the door, but haven't quite yet broken through. I feel we're right there. And
I think we're in the top
Yeah.
upper echelon, but I see what you're saying. There's
Yeah, it's sort of
teams that are kind of maybe next level.
there's like one more tier. I feel like that
Okay.
where we're just there
Yeah.
and breaking through. So that's what I'm excited about, is like challenge ourselves to get to that
Yeah, and
top absolute top tier.
I'm almost afraid to say what I'm about to say because I hope that this is listened to by teams around the country and the whole beatball community. But Rob likes to mention and remind us that we are the most successful, at least in this last World Series, the most successful homegrown team. And what he means by that is we're all original Renegades. Is that right?
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
all at least from the area and we're not borrowing from other teams like
Right.
some other teams might be doing, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. That
Sure.
it's more competition, but we're doing it our way, and I think that's pretty rad.
I agree. I think it's very rewarding, and it's really it's very exciting. I agree.
Guy, can we do one more thing? I mentioned to you before a little word association, then we'll wrap it up,
Sure.
and hopefully you'll think it's a success because I already think this has been wildly rewarding. I appreciate you doing this. Do you mind a
My
quick word
pleasure.
association?
Sure.
4 or 5 things. You tell me the first. It doesn't have to be one word. For just a comment or a thought or whatever you want to say to what I mentioned. You ready?
Sure. Yeah.
Shoot. All right. First, Weissman.
Passionate.
All right. All right. Yeah, that's
As I said before, I mean I could say passionate, I could say dedicated, I could say competitive.
there you go. There you go.
And loyal.
Oh man.
Super loyal.
Yes, he is.
Yes.
Really is. Now, people will get to know these names more and more as we progress in this experiment and in this project, and something I hope to be successful. But for now, I'll just preface this by saying we have people from all walks of life on this team, and this is one of them from another walk of life than maybe you and I are used to. But tell me about Joe Mack.
He's a beast.
He's a beast. Joe Mack, you hear that, baby?
He's a
Way
beast.
back, baby. I mean,
He's intense. He's a great guy.
It's just-
One of our fellow laborers.
Okay, yeah.
Players, right? He's mature beyond his years, too.
yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, he's younger than me, and in a lot of ways, I look up to him,
Yeah.
especially on the field.
He's younger than me. I look up to him. I mean, not just because he's, taller
he's
than me.
huge. Such a big kid.
Yes.
This one's gonna be fun for me. Ric Flair.
Woo!
All right. Awesome.
That was a blast when you brought that to the table in the
BC's
tournament.
It's really taken a life.
It is. Teams of around the. It's one of my favorite moments off the field at the World Series at the banquet, when the other teams were sort of paying us homage at the banquet, doing the 2 claps and a Ric Flair that we implemented.
It's wild. It's really cool. I mean, the support we get from ultimately our competitors, but it's a community.
Yeah,
and that's really cool. One last one. This is the last one. I promise. We'll get out of here, and I'll say thanks. 2016.
Possibility, opportunity.
Yeah,
opportunity.
It seems endless, doesn't it?
It does.
Like the sky's the limit.
Sure, why not?
I feel like it.
Why not us, right? The old 2004
Red Sox?
Schilling passed
Kevin
out
Millar.
those shirts. Millar, yeah. Why not us,
Hey, man. I think if I just want to keep improving.
That's it.
I want to get better as an individual, but most importantly, for the greater good, I want our team to just keep enjoying the success we're enjoying and having fun while doing it.
That's the name of the game, right?
Right. All right, man. What do you say? Do you think this was a successful endeavor, a good experiment? I think it would have been a shame if we didn't try.
This is a blast. Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
This was a blast. I can't thank you enough for having me be your maiden voyage. Hope I kept it interesting.
Yeah, no, believe me, you did great, man. I learned a lot, and I just want to quickly thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank the listeners that are going to ultimately, support this and make it thrive. And thanks to Kyle Bargu, who was standing by and is just a great friend. And stay tuned. We will have more episodes as long as we're in demand, and probably even if not, because I just want it. I have a craving for it now. I have a taste for it. Yeah. So this has been the first installment of the tentatively named Renegade Report. I am Timothy Cyphers. That was Guy Zuccarello. Guy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.